Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, Jesse with Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things 33 common sense lens. And well, needless to say, boys and girls, Snow White is absolutely not meeting expectations. It is beating predictions out there, ladies and gentlemen, and probably not in the direction that it wanted to, because a lot of the trade magazines out there estimated somewhere around a 50% drop from a weekend to weekend over there with Snow White coming out on its second weekend drop. And guess what, boys and girls, it got even worse than that, because even at 50%, this movie was going to basically be impossible for it to ever come anywhere near sniffing a profit. And well, now, ladies and gentlemen, the second weekend drop is even worse than what was predicted by the trade magazines out there, and it's not even close, boys and girls, because as you can see here from the headline over there from cosmicbook.news on our dear sweet Matt McGloin, Snow White bombs as Jason Statham's A Working Man explodes. And that is absolutely insane, boys and girls. A low-budget action flick is absolutely stomping a mud hole into a Disney hundreds of millions of dollars production. That is insane. And we've got the numbers right over here to prove it, boys and girls. This movie is turning into an absolute disastrous dumpster fire. And of course, we all know why that is. Obviously, Disney's major issues with all the missteps and the rewriting of the story and everything else. And then, of course, Rachel Zegler going out there and running her mouth over and over again, continuing to stick her foot in it, bash the original source material, and, of course, bash over half the country as well. So, needless to say, it is not going well, and this movie is going to be a disastrous dumpster fire. At this point, the only argument is how much money will Disney lose on this movie? Well, it's looking like it's definitely going to be in the hundreds of millions of dollars range, because this thing might not even break $200 million globally, and that would be worse than the Marvels, ladies and gentlemen. So we're going to check out this article from cosmicbook.news, getting all of the juicy details and show you the exact numbers and how bad things are actually going and how wonderful things are going for Jason Statham's movie. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we just crossed 1,700. We're on our way to 1,800, and I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Does it surprise you that this thing came under even the trade magazine's expectations of 50% drop? That is now even higher than that. Did you actually go see this movie? What did you think of it? Do you think all of the Hollywood trade magazines are trying to run cover for what is an absolutely disastrous dumpster fire that anybody with half a brain can clearly see? Let us know what you think about all that in the comment section down below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, from cosmicbook.news and our dear sweet Matt McGloin. As Disney's Snow White is put to permanent sleep in its second weekend at the box office, the new action-packed movie from Jason Statham, David Ayer, and Sylvester Stallone rouses audience awake with A Working Man. And you know, the same Sly Stallone out there that was endorsing Trump? Yeah, that guy. Rachel Zegler continues to bomb. Similar to what happened with its opening weekend, now the second weekend box office Snow White is not meeting expectations. Prior to this weekend, Snow White was estimated to bring in $15 million plus for its second weekend. However, the numbers are coming in lower, currently around $14 to $15 million, which could result in a nearly 67% drop. And obviously, he was giving updates to this article throughout over the weekend. And as you can see, total domestic right now is $68 million. And if you go down over here to the numbers right here, you can see March 28th, the second weekend, came in number 2 at the box office, mind you, and at 66%. Boys and girls, it had well over the 50% drop that they expected, all the way to 66%. That is insane. From $10,000 per theater, which is incredibly low to begin with, 4,200 theaters, to now an abysmal $3,412 per theater, boys and girls. That is pathetic. Well under the 15 to 16 million they expected to come in at. That is a horrendous drop. And if it continues to drop like this, or potentially get even worse, this movie is going to cost the Walt Disney Company hundreds of millions of dollars. And guess what? They did it to themselves. So, Saturday PM update. Numbers are looking even lower at 13.7, which would be a bigger 68% drop. Sunday update. Sunday weekend box office for Snow White is now reported to be 14.2 million, a 66% drop. So yes, boys and girls, it was looking bad from the get-go, and it has only gotten even worse. The industry shills out there that tried to give it the best case scenario were completely and totally overstated every single time. This thing came way under any kind of expectations for the Hollywood trade magazines out there, and that is a beautiful thing to see. After all, it's a little weird that all the shill access media said one thing and reality became something completely and totally different. Snow White cost close to $400 million to make. This is a complete disaster for Disney. Recently, also saw a Disney producer's son blame Rachel Zegler for the flop. Zegler won't be celebrating this week, more below. And yeah, we covered that, and that was glorious. His takedown of Zegler was just chef's kiss. If you haven't gone to see our video over that one, you definitely need to go check it out because it will make you happy as a clam. You're like, yes, somebody finally putting this chickadee in her place. Absolutely. And instead, fans turned out to see Jason Statham in action in A Working Man. The flick is currently overperforming estimates with a projected $15.6 million haul. The film reteams Statham with David Ayer from The Beekeeper. The screenplay is also from Sylvester Stallone, Ayer, and is a film based on a comic written by Chuck Dixon, the absolute comic book legend, boys and girls. Chuck Dixon's movie stomped Rachel Zegler's into a mud hole, and that is a beautiful thing, and it will actually make a profit, probably a sizable one, which is the direct opposite of what the Rachel Zegler Snow White is going to do. Working Man opened on Friday with $5.6 million, including Thursday previews, while Snow White earned $3.7 million on Friday, which actually comes in third place, also behind The Chosen's The Last Supper. Yes, boys and girls, the Jesus movie beat Rachel Zegler on a Friday night. How's that for beautiful irony? Let's see here. There we go. Oh, yeah, and opening, look, Jason Statham's the number one opening of the weekend. It's now thought Snow White will bomb even harder than Disney's Dumbo from back in 2019. Dumbo grossed $18.2 million in its second weekend. That's $3 million more. And how many years ago was that? 2019? And we know the ticket prices have drastically gone up since then. So, yeah, not exactly a good sign. Dumbo finished with $114 million in the U.S. and a worldwide grossing of $353.2 million. Snow White's numbers are coming in less than that. It's been suggested that Disney will lose at least $300 million on Snow White. That is absolutely insane, boys and girls. And if this thing doesn't end up clearing the $200 million mark globally, which it's not looking like it's going to, we got to wait a little while to find out what all of our actual overseas numbers are going to be for the week. But literally, if this thing doesn't crack $200 million, it will cost them more along the lines of $400 million at the box office after you factor in marketing and everything else and all the promotions they've been doing, all of the deals, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, that is bad. As of Friday, Snow White has only grossed $100 million, with $56.3 million in the U.S. Domestic, $56 million. International, $43 million. Worldwide, $100.2 million. And as we can see, that all lines up with what we've got right now. We've got $144 million globally. Boys and girls, this thing is not going to hit $200 million globally. It is, unless something crazy happens overseas and things change, it is not going to happen. This movie is done. It is finished. This goose is cooked. And guess what? It's all Disney and Rachel Zegler's fault. They did this to themselves. If you like the Jason Statham movies, it sounded like A Working Man is pretty much right in line with The Beekeeper. The Rotten Tomatoes fan score for A Working Man is 90%, and The Beekeeper is 92%. And that is absolutely insane, boys and girls. Rachel Zegler's Snow White movie has been crushed in every possible way you can imagine. The box office has been a disastrous dumpster fire, right? Every single trailer got ratioed into oblivion. It wasn't even close, and now you have a box office that is now drastically dropping and coming in even farther under expectations once again. This was expected to have at minimum a 50 to 55% drop. It is now sitting at what, a 63, 68% drop like that? Yeah, 66% drop. That is absolutely insane. There is no way in hell this movie is going to make a profit, and I'm sorry if you liked the movie. That's fine. I'm glad you enjoyed it. I hope you're a Rachel Zegler simp and you love everything that she does. But at the end of the day, she decided to piss off the good portion of the audience out there, even the Disney pixie dusters out there who all love Snow White. When she came out and decided to bash the original source material out there, go, it's weird, it's kind of dated, the prince is kind of a stalker, it's creepy, it's weird. Well, guess what? You automatically ostracized all of those people that loved the original source material. And yet your box office opening weekend alone shows that. This movie has absolutely turned into a disastrous dumpster fire. From their creepy, weird CGI dwarfs that now they have instead of the 7 homeless people from San Francisco that they were going to originally currently have in the movie because of all of the backlash. I mean, this movie has been nothing but controversy after controversy, and then everything behind the scenes with Rachel Zegler and Disney basically losing complete and total control on her, just running out there and saying and running her mouth over and over again did not help anything at all. She ostracized well over half the voting population in the United States. She ostracized all of the Disney pixie dusters who totally would have been down onto this. I mean, you got to think about this. The live action Little Mermaid, right? The race swapped live action Little Mermaid out there that also looked horrendous in a lot of cases when it came to the CGI, and some of the songs were absolutely cringe. Still globally cracked over $500 million. It will be a miracle if Rachel Zegler's Snow White ends up hitting $200 million globally. That is going to equal out to almost $500 million in losses for the Walt Disney Company. And guess what? You're getting exactly what you deserve. You decided to hire some activist that agreed with all the politics you guys were pushing at the time, and now it is literally blown up in your face. You hired an activist, and she did activist things, and it just blew your mind, and holy cow, ostracizing over half of your audience out there, and now you got a massive flop on your hands. So Disney, I hope you've learned your lesson, but knowing your track record, you probably haven't. But needless to say, Rachel Zegler is done, boys and girls, as far as it's considered in Hollywood, and guess what? Her goose is cooked. Snow White is an absolute disastrous dumpster fire and will lose money. And guess what, Rachel Zegler? It's exactly what you deserve.